do what I do.
Right? It's going to some less qualified white guy with legacy connections. And while you sit in silence, trying not to rock the boat, you're learning that the hard way. You see? And it's something that we've always known here. You will never outwork racism. Somebody type work hard in the chat room. You will never outwork racism. Somebody type work hodda in the chat room. The Africans doing well here are the ones who stepped out of that system and created their own lanes. They didn't assimilate, they took control. Doctors, lawyers, okay? Until you realize that you're going to keep blaming Black Americans for your failures while suffering the same fate we fought for generations to overcome. So look here, let's talk some numbers, okay? And I have some clips, not really necessarily clips, but I have some documents that I want you guys to see. And for you guys who are checking this out on the rebroadcast, there are the links in the chat room, okay? All right, the links in the chat room. There's a study that came out in 2019, okay? And it's from the American Community Survey, and it's a peer-reviewed article. And the article is entitled Dimensions of Inequality, Black Immigrants, Occupational Segregation in the United States. It's by Rebecca Tisfa and Kevin J.A. Thomas. And it reveals a persistent and troubling phenomenon in the American labor market. Despite having among the highest levels of educational attainment, Black African immigrants are consistently undercompensated, underemployed, and underrepresented in low mobility occupations. Okay? So as of 2019, here's some stats. I want y'all to hear me. The median income for households led by sub-Saharan African immigrants. Now, I'm not talking about Foundation Black Americans, right? The median income is $58,000. That puts them behind all immigrant households, which is $64,000, okay? Now, keep in mind, US-born households make $66,000. The variation among African national origin groups is very different. When we talk about South Africans, they make $111,000, Kenyans $70,000, Somalis $32,000. They darn near living in poverty. And see, these figures reflect not only national origin, but also the stratified access to opportunity. You see what I'm saying? Now check this out. Approximately 17% of sub-Saharan Africans who come to this country live below the poverty line. Think about that. And the poverty line as of 2019 was $25,750 for a family of four. So you got family of four, making $25,000, about $26,000 a year. Now compare that to all immigrants. 14% of all immigrants and 12% of US-born citizens live below the poverty line. Think about that. These are Africans, okay? These are African. And when you start breaking it down, when you look at Somalis, for instance, they have the highest rate. 37% of them live below the poverty line. As far as Cameroonians and Liberians, 9% of them, they're doing better. You see? So when these Africans start talking about how well they're doing, it's just untrue. Now, the thing is, when you talk about sub-Saharan Africans that have had a naturalization rate, they come in 56% of them get naturalized. That's above the 52% of the average foreign-born resident. So more of them get citizenships than others, okay? But let's skip ahead to occupation. And to this study, and I'm actually gonna put this in here. I want you guys to see it. You guys can screenshot it. This is actual factual stuff. It's not me making this up. Okay. Africans and Caribbeans are over concentrated in a very narrow set of jobs. Okay. And it echoes a pattern seen among Hispanic immigrants. but they face greater occupational segregation from white workers than US born black. They're not getting hired, is what I'm telling you. They give them a certain group of jobs they can do, but they're not getting hired. African immigrants in particular are the most segregated, even more so than Caribbean counterparts. In other words, nobody wants to hire them. In this regard, they are more occupationally isolated than US born black workers. Now, they always talk about these STEM degrees. Let me tell you you could wipe your butt with one of these STEM degrees. If you're an African immigrants are more likely to hold a STEM degree than other immigrants or US born folks, yet they receive lower salaries and less occupational mobility compared to similarly educated folks from Europe, Asia, and Latin America. And what this tells us is that these degrees are devalued in the US labor market. Okay? If you're an African, this is an African immigrant paradox. This situation gives rise to what scholars call, or should I say, a Black African immigrant paradox. It's a contradiction between high educational attainment and low economic return. Shout out to Brolisky. Now look at the Hispanics. They have lower education and higher poverty. Or Asian immigrants, they have high education and lower poverty. Black immigrants, they have high levels of education and disproportionately high poverty. So when they start saying stuff like they're doing well, it's just not true. It is absolutely not true. And you need to cut them on that lie. We need to stop pretending. This isn't just a conversation, okay? This is real, all right? This is the diaspora war, and they started it. But they started this. And so now we're going to call them out on it. Yes, African immigrants, particularly Nigerians and Ghanaians and Kenyans, they tend to be highly educated, but education without power means nothing. And in the US, your degrees aren't translating to economic dominance. You all like to pretend you have. Okay? Again, according to the American Community Survey and the peer-reviewed article, Dimensions of Inequality, American Immigrants, Occupational Segregation in the United States, and I'm gonna put this right here for you all to look at so you can be mad. Read this. African immigrants are the most educated among all immigrants, yet they have the most underpaid and underemployed. You understand me? You all do worse than Black Americans who you claim to be superior to. We average more income and have less formal education. And see, here's the thing, you're not just underpaid, you're locked out. The labor market in America sees your degrees and still shoves you into low mobility jobs. African immigrants are more occupationally segregated than white folks and US born people. Think about that. Those STEM degrees you have, you can hold on to them because they're going to give a Mexican or European or Asian that job before they give it to you. Meanwhile, you posture online about being these model Black immigrants, right? You tell everybody you're earning more, right? But you're not. Black Americans earn more than you, and we have less credentials. We occupy more powerful positions socially and politically. And here's the cold part about it. We're the ones that fought for the civil rights structure that gave you the right to be here in the first place. You didn't build this, you benefited from it. That's a big difference. And let me break something else for you. Shout out to Top G. This is a hierarchy. This hierarchy is not new. It traces back to the plantation caste system during slavery. American-born Black people were the most sought after. Caribbeans were second tier. Africans were dead last. You're often viewed as less adaptable, less civilized, and therefore less valuable. You don't have to like what I'm saying. This is our history. Now, what you all have done is fake like you're Black and you learn to assimilate, which is why you might have some long African name, but they'll call you John Tate. Okay, you got your American name and your African name. That's how slick you all have become. Somebody type slick in the chat room. See, some of you all have become slick and you've learned to assimilate wearing your baseball caps. Because you know we can tell that you're not foundational Black American by looking at your forehead. You know, I've told y'all before, I can look at a forehead and tell you where a person is from. Okay? So anyway, that legacy continues. Many of you try to hide your African identity and you take on Black American culture, then you want to turn around and look down on the very people whose identity you appropriate to blend in. This is why we call ourselves foundational Black Americans, and we're getting away from African Americans.
Black father, I have black son.
Tune in, weekly feeling the spine. From the heart, real talking night. Every episode brings the light. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare. Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins, enjoy the ride. Come say hi, catch the wave, don't pass by. Lifted spirits always inside. In this podcast, joy takes flight. Subscribe, hit the like, won't you dare. Share the love, you know it's fair. Join us every week, don't be late. Drop some coins in the collection plate. Drop some coins.
Donation. I thought it was a class.
Hey man, I'll do what I do.
You know that.